guys, welcome back then to Football Chat with me, Ben. Again, you can't see my face this week. I think it's for the best. I think more people enjoyed last week's due to the fact they couldn't see me. But this week, I'm not alone. I'm joined once again. He's doing the double this week. It's second yellow card. Matt, welcome back.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And secondly, on the panel, we've got him out of his slumber. He's been away for a little bit. Occasionally he pops up, but it's Mickey Mar Jr. Mick, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing with Football Manager? Still playing it? Still pretending not to?
No, I'm playing it casually, recreational.
Right. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. So then, boys, I set you the challenge or the task this week, and we obviously want you to get involved as well in the comment section. We've gone through the Premier League, and we've picked an 11 and a bench, but mainly the 11. And you couldn't use the same club twice. And we're going to go through who our sort of favourites are for the upcoming season, why we might think they might do well. And I guess we'll start with, where you normally start with a football team, in goal. So I think what we'll do, gentlemen, is we'll go through one by one, sort of positionally. Although we've got different formations, haven't we? Mick, you've gone for a 3-4-3.
Yep.
And Matt's gone for a 4-4-2?
Yeah, straight up 4-4-2.
Traditional, loves it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with the keepers then, boys. Who did you go for? What was your team? Where do they come from? Mick, we'll go with you first. Who are you offering up?
Right. Well, originally, keeper position was going to be a problem for me because I thought it was like the easiest to do, if that makes sense, because I wanted to put the beef of the team into more key areas. I eventually settled for Costal Pantilimon of Sunderland.
Brave. Why?
As a keeper himself, I think, he's got, as you know, he's huge, which is a big thing. He's got that presence. And I think last season he was quite underrated in his performances under Dick Advocaat in the whole super miracle survival thing.
Yeah.
I think potentially he's got all the tools you need to be a good keeper if he could show that form.
Yeah, he was at City. Do you think the move was like? Do you think he moved at the right time, or do you think it was a bit soon or a bit late? Either way, what do you reckon?
Considering, I suppose, because they've got Joe Hart, I don't think he was ever really going to displace him, was he? Really? So
no,
there was
true.
no real time frame when he moving, I guess. So.
All right. So you're going with Pantilimon. Matt, who have you got? Can you better Pantilimon? Is the real question.
I think I probably can.
Okay. Okay, good.
Well, we'll see, won't we? Yeah, I went with David De Gea.
A step up. Mick, I would consider that a step up, my friend.
I can't really fight that, can I? Really?
Okay. De Gea, why? So you've chosen to have your Manchester United player in goal, Matt.
Yeah, well, I went through kind of like who I'd want in the team from Man United, and then when I looked at the positions they had them in, I felt I could get someone better in some of the other positions. So the one area I thought that I would like to have a Man United player is David De Gea. So I thought, yep, let's get him in.
Well, it's a solid. I guess so far I've had Pantilimon, I've had De Gea, and I think I'd like to think that my pick's slightly closer to De Gea because I've gone to Arsenal, gentlemen, and Petr Cech, who I think will, I legitimately think will turn Arsenal from a third, fourth place team to a very serious contender this season. I think
a very serious third place, fourth place team.
That's spoken as a true Chelsea fan. I think he'll do well for them. I think to get him in for the price they have, I'm sure Chelsea are equally pleased with it, really. But I think Arsenal, that is the best signing I think Arsenal have made in the last 5 years, despite signing players like Ozil and Sanchez and one or two others. I think he's up there. So I guess if we had to pick, who are we giving the goalkeeper to in terms of the three? De Gea's obviously had a great season. Whether he'll be at United, I guess, is a question mark. But Mick, I'm not saying you've come third, but I am going to allow you to pick the winner, and Pantilimon's not involved.
Well, it's pretty obvious I do have a soft spot for Big Pete, and I do agree with everything you said. I think that's definitely the most needed signing Arsenal have made in recent years.
Yeah,
and he is a fantastic keeper, so I'd go for Cech.
He's gone for Petr Cech. Well, Matt, I don't think we're taking anything away from David De Gea, but we'll start with you now, Matt. So, do you want to go through all your defenders?
Yep,
one
we'll
by
go
one.
across the back four. You might be surprised by a few of these. I had to kind of... Sometimes I think it was the defence that's kind of been hit the hardest in terms of not maybe getting the creme de la creme of players, but still really solid performance. So across the back four, we've got Cresswell,
Good.
Jagielka, Wes Morgan, and Ryan Bertrand.
Oh, I'm going to ask you quickly, Mick. Do you match any of those players?
No.
Oh, I do. I match one.
Ooh.
Interesting. Okay, well, talk us through them, Matt, one by one. Cresswell, start with him.
Well, he's just been incredibly solid for West Ham this season. And when I looked at sort of the other players in those positions, it was the same with the Man United thing, where there was, I could have had people like Azpilicueta and Ivanovic, perhaps, but then I guess I just wanted to use that Chelsea player for another area of the pitch, and Aaron Cresswell just sort of stood out for me as one of West Ham's strongest performers last season.
Yeah, I'd go with that. So he's your left back. So you got a back. So we'll go straight to right back. Who do you have at the right side?
I think it's Bertrand. Is he a right back or is he a left?
He's a left back, but we'll give it to you. In fantasy football style, you can have as many left backs as you want at the back.
Sorted.
He could do a job.
He could do a job. Go on then. Tell me about Bertrand. He was very good for Southampton last season.
Yeah, I think he's, perhaps he was slightly inclined shadow, even though they were on the same team most of the time because they're playing on different wings. But I still think that this year could be a really big year for him. Now that he's probably the strongest left back that they've got. Well, strongest fullback in general.
Yeah, actually, Mick, I'm going to come to you because you're a Chelsea fan. We're not going to hide behind it.
Yeah.
You were obviously the club that sold Bertrand. Do you think it was right for him to move when he did? We talk about Pantilimon in the same way, really. But Bertrand got his move and he flourished under Koeman last year.
I think, again, it was a sort of circumstantial thing. I mean, he was against Ashley Cole, really, and you're not going to win that battle, really, unless you're exceedingly incredible. I was really surprised. I remember the day he made that debut in the Champions League final. You can imagine my reaction that day. I was completely confused, but every time he did play for us, he was solid. You could see he was going to go on to be something. I just don't think the opportunities were at Chelsea, and they never would have been, to be honest. Maybe now, actually.
I think the England left-back spot is a little bit up of a question mark at the moment, and Bertrand could be one of those guys that could fill that. Like, you've got Gibbs, you've got Baines. Baines is getting on a little bit. Ashley Cole's no longer in the run-in. But do you see Bertrand making waves, Matt?
If he continues to be as consistent as he was last season and maybe kicks on this year, it's going to take a little while to push into the England team, because I think had he still been playing at Chelsea week in, week out, regardless of how well he was playing, I think he'd be much closer to the England team, because that just seems to be how it works. Yeah. But I think another strong season at Southampton, and he has to be considered.
Well, just on that, do we think that Luke Shaw is ahead of him at the moment? Because you get the sense that Luke Shaw is going to play from sort of what Roy said and the way he calls players up, and obviously he went to the World Cup as well. Would you currently play Bertrand ahead of? I don't think he will, frankly, because it's Roy. But do you think he'll play Bertrand ahead of Shaw? Or do you think Shaw is the man to sort of topple at the moment?
I'm personally old school. I believe the shirt should go to someone that's playing consistently, and I think if you are in the England squad, you must have been showing some signs of form to get there and warrant it anyway. Yeah. So it should go to the person that's playing more regularly. I haven't personally seen enough of Luke Shaw to really make a true judgment of him. I know he was solid that season. This last season at Southampton, but Ryan Bertrand to me has all the tools.
I guess with the Euros coming up, you want to see Shaw playing week in, week out for United this year.
Of course.
And you want to see how he does. So you're back to Matt.
The centre backs, we've got Jagielka and Morgan.
So you've got Morgan from Leicester.
Yep, he's been solid for Leicester, really. He's one of their sort of standout performers. Sort of underrated, well, not underrated, but understated in his performances. Defenders don't always get the credit they deserve, but I think for he's definitely their standout defender, that's for sure.
Yeah, and on the other side you've got Jagielka, who had an indifferent season. I guess the whole Everton side didn't have the greatest of years, and I think Jagielka took quite a lot of stick from Everton fans. But you think he'll have a good year this year?
I'd like to think so. Like, he has, again, I've kind of just gone for like solid performers at the back, because you can't sometimes have those really massive names. I mean, they are still massive names in their own rights, but perhaps the players, consistency, exactly. Yeah, it's all about the consistency, and I thought for a defence that's probably what we need. And Jagielka, sort of, to me, he typifies that kind of play, that consistency over the last, well, God knows how long now. It's been years.
Very solid.
He's done. I think he's done since he's gone to Everton. He's done really well. I think that because he was from Sheffield United, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it was at the time it was a bit of a risky signing. Maybe you don't see players move from Sheffield United to and this is not a slant at Sheffield United, but I think they were on the way down. And then
they were.
He made the move back up towards Everton, and he's done really well. Got himself in the England team, etc. So I think what we'll do is we'll go straight to me, and then we'll come to you, Mick. Thirdly.
Okay.
So my back four, I've got Aaron Cresswell also, Matt. Ooh. So I echo your sentiments that I think he was one of West Ham's best players last year. I think you talk about Wes Morgan being quite understated. I think Cresswell's a similar player to that as well, who gets the job done. He's reliable at left back.
Agreed.
He does a good job. I've then gone for Seamus Coleman on the other side.
Interesting.
For my Everton pick. So actually we've both gone for Everton at the back line, despite their season not being so good last year. We've both backed it. Again, I think, and this is a classic sort of if you were English thing, but I think if he were English, he would be the starting right back. But for Everton, I think even in their different season last season, he still showed why he's considered one of the top left backs. He was linked with a move to United for a long time, which I actually thought might happen this summer, but doesn't seem to have materialised, especially now they brought Darmian in as well. And at the back two, I've gone for Tottenham and Chelsea. So I've gone pretty big early on. Firstly, I've gone with John Terry, Mick.
Yeah, Captain Fantastic.
Your favourite, John Terry. And Toby Alderweireld, or Alderweireld, how you want to say his name. How would you pronounce it if you've given the chance?
To me, he was always Tobes.
Oh, brilliant.
During the FM League and stuff.
Yeah,
so
you've done that. Matt, now the pressure's on Matt.
It's Alderweireld, isn't it?
Yep, That
What he said. What he said.
Yeah, what he said.
Mumble.
I think he was good at Southampton. I think Southampton fans are devastated they didn't get him back. And I think it was something Tottenham lacked last year. I think they had a few different options at centre back, but didn't have a firm partnership. And I think him and Vertonghen this year, there's a lot of talk that Vertonghen would leave. It looks like he's going to stay and to partner in with Alderweireld, however you want to say it. I'm going with Matt or Toby. We're going with Tobes. Is that what you
Tobes.
I think Tottenham will really benefit. I think Tottenham had a lot of plaudits for Harry Kane last year. I think he kind of carried them a little bit. But I think having a strong back three, having Lloris, Tobes, and Vertonghen will be a really solid little triangle there. And I think
that's a brilliant partnership on paper.
Yeah, I think it'll work really well. And John Terry, I mean, not a very nice bloke, Mick, but a pretty good centre back.
Dad of the year.
Yeah, Dad of the year. Dad of the year. Sorry. So Mick, you've gone for a 3.
Yeah.
And have we mentioned any? Have you gone for any that we mentioned?
No, you mentioned teams, but not actual players from them teams.
Let's hear it then. Let's hear it.
Stylistically, I've gone for sort of a ball-playing team, basically. We're very technical.
Of course you have.
So my back three, John Stones is my first from Everton. Not just saying that because we're going to buy him.
We'll talk about
I think
that.
a lot of him. I think he's very good on the ball, which is rare these days. I think since Rio Ferdinand, England have lacked that kind of ball-playing centre-back. I think he's quite versatile, and I think if need be, he could be moulded into many positions within a back four or a three. Yeah. Good size, good presence, good age, and I think he's done relatively well for Everton in the games he's played, being thrusted in at such a young age, And I would expect him to be a mainstay for England for many years to come. So.
Yeah, I like him as well. I think think this year could be. Do you know what? If he has a great year, and I know he's going to the chances are he's going to go to Chelsea. If he goes to Chelsea, he's probably going to be limited, which is disappointing due to the fact that if he'd have had a good year for Everton, you could potentially see him getting into that England squad at the Euros. But now,
definitely.
With this move to Chelsea, it's going to be it's going to depend on the form of others, like Jagielka, ironically enough.
Yeah.
If Jagielka has a good year, then he'll probably go. But if not, you'd look at a John Stones. He'll probably play here and there. Do you think he's a? You refer to him as a Rio Ferdinand-like defender, but it seems a little bit clearer that he's going to fill that sort of John Terry void. I know you've got Zuma, and you can in the future, my word, you can have Zuma and John
that would
Stones.
be amazing.
And if that potential fulfills what we think it might do, then that's not bad, I would say. But do you think he would? Do you think he's the right player for Chelsea in that role? You've never really had Carvalho. You've never really had that in recent years, at least, that ball-playing defender.
I think it depends how close you look into the actual technical ability of a player. I mean, John Terry is seen as a bit of a bang-on, will tackle everything, but technically, he actually is very underrated. Two-footed, can play the ball. I mean, you can develop that player into a certain aspect of what you want it to be, and I'm sure John Stones has the capability to play both roles, really.
Yeah.
If he develops the correct way.
Well, give us your other two.
The other centre-back I've gone for, consistency, going with Matt here, Jose Fonte of Southampton.
I considered it. I don't know about Matt, but he was on my list.
It was a toss-up between him and Bertrand for me.
Yeah, I mean, I personally would have gone for Bertrand as well, but obviously I wanted to try and stay to the three centre-backs and try and make it less fantasy, more realistic, which will go out the window when I go to my midfield. But at this point, I was on that line. So
yeah, it started off with logic. It turned into just fantasy.
But I think he's been very consistent. He's gone through divisions with them. I mean, I don't think he's at the age as well where he's never going to get moved to a bigger club than Southampton. But what he's done, I mean, Southampton do have a very good defensive record, especially last season. I just think he's very consistent. Does a good job in leadership as well.
He was Team of the Year last year, wasn't he, Matt?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah.
So there you go. And so to round off your three,
I have gone for Ashley Williams of Swansea. Again,
solid.
The style of the team, Swansea are a ball-playing team. I'm very surprised that he hasn't made that jump to a bigger move, or no one's looked at him at least. I know there's been speculation for Arsenal occasionally and stuff, but Arsenal will link with everyone in the world. But
yeah, Liverpool have as well. Liverpool have been linked with Ashley Williams a few times.
Again, a captain, a leader. I think he's very solid, and I think he's a big part of the Welsh Revolution going on right now as well. He's played a part in their upturn. So
the Welsh Revolution, Mick Marr Jr. Quote it, people. Quote it. Are you a fan of Williams, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of been, like Mick was saying, he's been rumoured with big moves for many years. I think he's a little bit like Breda Hangland in that sense, as he was always linked to big clubs for sort of 3 or 4 years, but he seemed like he was perfectly content at Fulham/Swansea, and it's just like, why move? Why rock the boat? He's sort of, I don't know how old Ashley Williams is now, but he's probably not that young, and I think if he was going to get a big move, it would have happened by now. I think he's probably more likely to spend most of the rest of his career at Swansea, and fair play to him for that.
Yeah, I like it as a back three. So we'll move from. I guess I don't know. Do we give an award out for this back three, or should we come more to sort of the end result and let the people decide who've got the best teams? I'm going to put them on screen towards the end, folks, and obviously I'll bring them up as we go through them as well. I'm going to go back to my midfield now, if that's all right with you, Bale. So I've gone for a 3. And there's only one place to start. It's the captain of the side that I've selected. It's Liverpool's own Captain Supremo, Jordan Henderson.
Hendo.
I think it was. I don't want to say it was an obvious pick for me, but it may well have been up there. So I think last season he was one of our brighter lights. When he captained the side when Gerrard had his absence, he was by far our top performer. I wouldn't say he carried us through games, but there was games where you could see that his influence couldn't have been understated anymore. It was such a sort of. He's one of those players now. He's gone from a laughing stock really from his early days to becoming the first name on the team sheet because you know exactly what you're going to get. And there aren't too many players, especially English players as well, where you put them on the pitch and you know exactly what you're going to get. And from Henderson, it is work rate, it is a desire to be the best player on the pitch, even when he might technically not be. I still think he wants to be kind of the showpiece. I can look at this pass I can play, look at this tackle I can make, and that's what Liverpool have lacked. They've had Steven Gerrard doing it over the years, but Henderson is literally a younger, more athletic model. Technically not as good. Obviously, to better Gerrard, you're going to have to be quite the player. But I'm starting with Henderson. Do you agree with the pick, or are you laughing me off the pitch?
No, me personally, I'm actually a massive fan of Henderson. He's like one of them type of players. If I was going to war, I want him on my team. Like what you said, he's going to give you 100%. But not just that, I think he is underrated technically. I mean, you don't score some of the goals he's scored. I mean, I think the Man City one comes to mind. That you don't just hoof them. That's technical ability. I think he is quite underrated really outside of Liverpool as well. I think he is, like you said, some people still do see him as a bit of a joke, a bit of a horse. But I think if you look carefully and you break it down, I think he is a very, very good player.
I think when you talk about technical ability, you'll see how many free kicks and corners he takes this season and realise that he was not. I wouldn't say he was held back by Gerrard, but he was certainly down the pecking order when Gerrard was there. And I think you'll see Henderson take a lot more of those set pieces to prove his quality. So from Henderson, he's got the work ethic. I've gone for quite a balanced midfield here. I've gone for a deep line playmaker. I'm going to Crystal Palace and I'm going Johan Kabay. He's made his return to the Premier League, and I like the boy a lot. I was surprised when he went to PSG because I thought... Actually, I wasn't surprised that he went to PSG, but I'm surprised he's left PSG so quickly. I thought he would be there for a lot longer. Obviously, he did extremely well with Newcastle. Newcastle fans are a little bit sickened to see him partner up with Pardew. But I think he's got everything. From deep, he can dictate the play. The tempo of the play is often dictated by him, which is a skill that not many players have. I think Modric has probably got it. I think Xavi's got it. Xabi Alonso's got it. There aren't many of those players. And for Crystal Palace to have one of those players that I think is in that kind of area, maybe not quite well, sort of. He's not got the same amount of medals. I'll put it that way.
But stylistically,
as you point out, he's certainly got that. Matt, are you with me with Kabay? I've got a fan you might like a player like Johan Kabay.
I love a bit of Kabay.
What do you like? What do you like about him?
Oh, his hair.
Just he's a handsome man.
He is a very handsome man. He is chiseled.
So far, I'm going for a handsome midfield, and now I'm going to go to the other side of the pitch. Well, actually, what I'm thinking, gentlemen, is I've got a deep line forward, a deep line playmaker, and a box-to-box midfielder working together. But I've got one just in front of those two, working it. Gylfi Sigurdsson. I've gone to Swansea, and he's one of my favourite players. I've actually had him in one of my Football Manager saves quite notoriously this year at Parma. But in terms of this is kind of a fantasy football team pick situation I've gone for. He is one of those players that is first on the fantasy team sheet because he'll always pop up with an assist or a goal. He's always going to be there. He worked extremely well with Boney when those two were there, and then Gomes has come in. He did equally well. I like him a lot. I think Swansea did really well to get him back. It was a shame that he didn't go back the first time because obviously he went to Spurs, didn't he, after that loan spell, and it just didn't work out. And now he seems to have found his home again at Swansea. And you speak about the comfort level with Ashley Williams earlier at Swansea. You'd like to think that Sigurdsson's found the same thing, and if offered a bigger move, you might think twice about it. Now he's found a home, Matt.
Definitely. Yeah. No, definitely. Because I think he's had that experience of the so-called bigger move when he went to Spurs, and it obviously didn't work out. And I think that might make him think twice about doing it again.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. So I've gone for quite a balanced midfield, boys. It's a 3. You've both got 4s.
Yep.
So I've started us off with a 3. Mick, we'll come back round to you.
Right.
The 4 you've got for us, and you've already hinted at the fact this isn't exactly balanced.
This isn't balanced, but
but
this is more. They are favourites of mine, so I can justify the selections. Right.
Sure.
I don't know whether I should say wide or centre here because all of them can pretty much do the same thing or can't do the same thing, if that makes sense. So we'll just start with midfielder 1. Felipe Coutinho from Liverpool.
Good.
I'm a huge fan of this boy. I just think he's class. I think he's the type of player you could build a team around. He plays football the way I just love football to be played. He plays with a smile. He's tricky, agile. He's got that kind of low centre of gravity turning ability. But I think he's added more goals and assists to his game recently as well. And I think Liverpool, he's turned into like a key player, someone you would rely on and turn to now. as opposed he was a luxury player in the beginning when he signed. You know?
Yeah, I hope you don't mind, Matt, but as the Liverpool fan, I'm going to comment on this one.
Go for it.
If I hadn't put Henderson in and I wasn't going for a more balanced side, I think Coutinho was our standout man last year. I think he, when Suarez left, you wanted a player to step up and be that kind of tricky sort of magician.
Yeah.
And he showed hints of that when Suarez was here, but it was almost like him and Suarez wanted to fill the same space. So he didn't quite look as good. I think without Suarez, Liverpool suffered, but Coutinho on his own flourished to have that much space to be able to dictate how he wants the games to be played. And I agree. I think he's a fantastic player to watch as well.
Definitely.
But yeah, go on. Hit us with another one.
Midfielder 2, again an obvious choice for me. Alexis Sanchez of Arsenal.
Yeah.
Again, I love the man. I love his work ethic. I love his productivity. I love his attitude. I love his body.
Okay, good. It has, the way you're saying it, football number 1 and 2, it's gone very blind date. I love his attitude, I love his body. I mean, I'm going to ask you what he wants to do if he had a date. What would you do? Actually, Mick, just off the top of your head here, if you and Alexis Sanchez were to go on a date, where would you take him? I don't think he would take you out. Not on the first date. It would surprise you second time round. But on the first date, where are you taking out Alexis Sanchez? I
think I'd take him for some frozen yogurt. Then I'd take him back to mine. Maybe watch a DVD. Maybe Wimbledon. I think he'd be into that. Peter Cope.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. You know, let the night.
Great impression.
Let the night just roll away. And then he could teach me some skills in my garden because the guy is extremely talented. And I think he's the type of player. When he came, I was a bit gutted that he went to Arsenal, obviously, but it's just a pleasure to have him in our league.
From the date, it sounds like at the end of the evening you will be scoring. So good, lovely.
I like that.
Just because of the skills, thanks. Okay, you got 2 more. Midfielder number 3.
Eden Hazard. I don't really need to say much else, do I? Really?
Yeah, not a lot of balance. I'm worried for Ashley Williams at this point, but go on.
I know it's going to be pressure on him. But Eden Hazard.
More about him.
I mean, he's been fantastic ever since he arrived. Really, I was so glad when we got him, and just his style again. I've never seen anyone dribble like he dribbles. He just seems to glide past people. He doesn't look. He's deceptively quick. I think it's more acceleration with him, but adding goals to his game now and assists consistently. And obviously still so very young. Hopefully he can make that push. I don't know who'll ever make it to Messi, Ronaldo levels, but I definitely think he's in that second tier.
Yeah. Actually, as a Chelsea fan, it's interesting that you've gone with Hazard. And from the outsider's point of view, he does a lot and he's very good. But do you think he's got the ability? Because I think if Real Madrid make the move with Ronaldo eventually, when he moves on, I think Hazard will be close to the top of their list. Do you think he's capable of making it? Not that you'd want him to make and I'm sorry to call it a step up, but do you think he could move on to one of these like Bayern, Barca, Madrid sides and be even better than he is now? Because you look at what Messi and Ronaldo are doing, even Suarez, Neymar, Bale, etc. Do you think he's got that sort of?
I actually am of the belief that for him to reach that level, he would have to go to that sort of club, not just for profile, but just for style of play. I mean, there are times at Chelsea, there are games where he does go missing, and that he won't touch the ball for long periods. But obviously, at a team like Barcelona or Real Madrid, he is going to be on the ball more 70% of the time, especially the way we play, given our possession isn't the best at times. I think he would have to make that move to get to them levels.
Yeah.
But obviously, then it's club versus player, isn't it? What do I want to see more? Him flourish at my club. So,
if you were to speak as a non-supporter, would you like to see him do that? Because you've seen the potential in him.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I love to see when a player has that kind of natural ability, which he undoubtedly has. You want to see him fulfill it to the best of his ability. So the only way, in my opinion, he will ever do that is to go to one of them clubs. But hopefully, he doesn't for a Chelsea perspective. So.
Are you a Hazard fan, Matt? Do you think you like the way he plays?
Yeah, God, yeah. I don't think. I think it's difficult not to be a fan of the way he plays.
Gotcha.
Really. But like Mick says, I think that he might need to, I think he can fulfill that kind of potential, and I think that he has the potential to be in that top tier potentially, perhaps not quite level of Ronaldo and Messi, as you say, but I think he could easily be in that sort of like that second group with the likes of Bale and Neymar and Suarez. I think if like one more good season at Chelsea, like a seriously good season, if he stays fit, he might have some suitors at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right. Does that worry you a bit, mate?
It does to a point, but at the same time, evolution in football happens. There's nothing you can really do about it. If the bid is right and the time is right, it's going to happen. It happened with us with Robin and Real Madrid. I was absolutely gutted when he left.
True.
But we move on. So.
All right. Well, move on for us now. Final player.
My final player is actually my favourite player in the Premiership. David Silva. I just think he is a magician. He plays with wing mirrors on. He doesn't look like he's ever trying, but he's the type of player. He doesn't look like he's sweating, but his brain is sweating. Like he's just a genius.
Even from you, I have never heard that before in my entire life.
But you get what I mean, though, right? It's just the intelligence of his movement. He just finds pockets of spaces effortlessly, He can create, and you always notice as well. Even the pundits say when Man City are actually on. I'm talking on. David Silva's orchestrating.
Yeah,
he's
you're
running
right.
it
You're true.
completely.
That's very
Just a
true.
fantastic player. Great attitude as well. Never see him dive really, moan. He's just seems like a nice fella too. Just a fantastic player.
Seems like a nice fella too. Got a sweaty brain though. That's the biggest downfall. Okay,
Aspiring.
I like it. You've gone very creative. When I'm gonna put that as a graphic, I'm not gonna put any. It's gonna be an arc, and there's gonna be no defensive players. It's gonna look great. Matt, away you go. You've got
Right
a 4.
Okay,
Have we or Mick named any? I'm gonna guess we probably
Surely.
have.
Between you've got 3 of the 4.
Brilliant. Right. Well, let's go through those 3 first, and then we'll rave
Okay.
about the final one.
Right. Okay. So we've got Sanchez,
Yep.
obviously. We've got
Kabay.
Hazard,
Yep.
and we've got Kabay.
So when I asked you if you're a big fan of Kabay and Hazard, the answer was yes.
Yes, they were.
Okay.
He loves beer, Kabay.
He does. He loves him. God, yes. So who's your final man? Who's completing the quartet?
Final one we've got, and this is so that we've got like extra set piece specialists. We've got Christian Eriksen.
Yes. Do you
Good
know what?
player.
He escaped my mind, but I love Christian Eriksen. But go on, tell me
He's
about him.
just I love watching him play. He reminds me of David Silva in some respects, but he's obviously nowhere near that level just yet. But he does have some of the same kind of attributes in the sense that he's one of those players that doesn't always look like a footballer, but that has got that sort of extra level of ability that is sort of goes under the radar a little bit. Plus his set piece delivery and his dead ball situation is just incredible. I think he was definitely the top scorer of free kicks last season.
Oh, his set piece is
like,
absolutely fantastic. I went to a Europa League game, Tottenham versus Anzi, before they went down, and I was lucky enough to just watch him in the warm-up. His accuracy is absolutely unbelievable. He was just pinging balls, T-pegging top corners, just casually, just in the warm-up, time and time again, consistently. Fantastic at set pieces.
Yeah. How old is Eriksen?
He's not old.
I think he's deceptively young. To be
Early
honest.
20s, I think.
23
Yeah.
Eriksen. Yeah. Because I remember when he was linked with a big move from about 18. So it feels like he's been around for a really long time, but as you point out, he's still quite a young player.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. All right, well, Matt, we'll come back to you, I think, with your forward line, as me and Mick have kind of destroyed your midfield by mentioning it already. You've now got a chance for revenge with your 3. Which have you named? Okay, well, you know what, I was going to say which big clubs haven't you named? I'm sure you're about to name them.
Yeah.
So away you go.
Right, so I think the obvious one is probably just the best striker in the Premier League at the moment. It's Sergio Aguero.
Yeah,
I
I'm going
could
to say
not have-
match. I'm going to say I matched that because I've also said Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, you couldn't not have. I thought it was impossible not to have him. I wanted to have David Silva in the midfield, but I knew that if I did, I couldn't have Aguero up front. And
Yeah.
I think he's just he's another one of those players that is just in that sort of second group potentially as well, with his sheer goal scoring ability and his balance is.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me. His balance on the ball. He seems like he's got a gyroscope in him, similar to the way that Messi plays, but obviously a slightly different sort of gait when he runs. So yeah, he's just a monster.
Yeah, I'm a huge Aguero fan. I think in terms of natural strikers in this league, I think Aguero is a different animal compared to any other striker in the league. I know we've got players that have scored plenty of goals. We've got Costas, we've got even Harry Kane had a fantastic year last year. But I think Aguero's when Aguero's got the ball at his feet, you are surprised if he doesn't score, especially if he's in the area. Because for me, when he gets it in the box, he could move in any direction and work an opening. And there aren't many players in world football like that. No mind just in the Premier League in world football like that. So I'm a big fan. But Matt, go ahead. Another one.
Right, the last one I went with Daniel Sturridge. Obviously, implying that he's not injured, like
Okay.
to when he's fully fit. A fully fit Daniel Sturridge for me. In his day, even though, he was partnered with Suarez, who obviously did a lot of the work too, but he still managed to score a massive amount of goals in a team that featured Luis Suarez scoring a massive amount of goals. And for me, that takes some doing to have, a striker getting 30 goals a season and have a strike partner getting 20-odd goals as well. So for me, I wanted to have a Liverpool player, and it just sort of settled on Sturridge in the end. A fully fit one, though.
I'm going to say you could have had Benteke, because last week we talked about how loyal Delph was.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I didn't.
No, you didn't, but we
Cursed
talked
it.
about it. But yeah, I think Sturridge, Mick, you've had him at Chelsea. It's a consistency thing, and that incorporates his injuries.
Daniel Sturridge, though, for me, I'd say along with Juan Mata are the 2 players I regret us leaving the most. I thought he had so much juice left. There was so much more in the tank as a Chelsea player with him. Again, he just came, he was in that Ancelotti period where we had the Malouda, Kalou, Drogba, and Elka situation. I always saw potential in him. I didn't really think he would be such a mainstay number 9 sort of player at the time, but now, I mean, he would so suit Chelsea.
The names, some of the names you reeled off there, it makes me realise how how far Liverpool have fallen, because you mentioned some quite good footballers there, and I'm just thinking about the situation he's in now, where he's got Barini, Lambert, Ings, Balotelli, etc. to deal with. So it's slightly different. But do you know what? I like your shout of Daniel Sturridge. Actually, now I'm going to quickly jump in here, Mick, because me and Matt spoke pre-record, and we thought we had the same player from Manchester United. I had Wayne Rooney, Matt. Because we said, does his first name second letter A? And it was both, but I had Wayne rather than David. I think if Rooney isn't played as United's focal striker this year, it will be. I'll be baffled, frankly, unless they've got someone they know they're bringing in. I know Pedro's rumoured, but unless they're bringing someone in who's like a serious contender to rival Rooney. As soon as Van Persie left, my first thought was, oh, okay, Rooney's playing up through the middle, and I think a Wayne Rooney for Manchester United is a very different animal to a Wayne Rooney for England. I'm not as complimentary about Rooney for England.
Yeah.
But I think for United, he can be... He says he can break his goal scoring record from a few years ago, which I think was 36, 38. It was around that mark. And I agree. I think if Van Gaal plays him in the right system, then... And I genuinely think that the closest challengers to Chelsea right now are United. I think their signings have been fantastic, frankly. And it pains me as a Liverpool fan, but I think out of all the Premier League clubs... We'll cover transfers at a later date, folks, but... I do think Rooney and the players that have been put around him have the potential to challenge Chelsea next year. Do they worry you at all, Mick?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, I don't think you cannot be worried with the signings they've made, and combined with the players they already had that may have just underperformed or not settled. I mean, you've got Di Maria sitting there. I mean, that's Angel Di Maria. That's not Joe Bloggs. That's a very, very dangerous footballer. And like you said, there's no excuse or no reason if you put Wayne Rooney up front in a team like that, given his responsibility, his ability in himself with the players around him, he can't flourish.
Yeah,
he
I
will.
agree. And now I've gone slightly left field. I've gone with Troy Deeney. I was looking at the Championship top scorers last year, and Cameron Jerome and Callum Wilson from Bournemouth and Norwich both had 20. Deeney had a few more, and we talk about players being bought to fit around a system. Well, to me, Troy Deeney's going to be starting on a Watford side that are packing their team. But again, we'll cover transfers and we'll cover all the Premier League teams the week before the season. We're going to do like a preview show. But Troy Deeney, he's got a chance at being one of those strikers that can set the Premier League alight in the first year, and it doesn't happen that often. But I think Deeney's got the tools to do it. Because to me, he's a different. You see a lot of these strikers come up who they're not very quick, but they score a lot. I'm talking like the Nugents of this world. Do you know what I mean by that? Matt?
Yeah.
That sort of player. But I think Deeney's got a little bit more about him. I think he's a bit bigger, he's a bit stronger. He can hold the ball up as well as running behind. I think he could be a catalyst for Watford still. I do think Watford will stay up. I think he'll be a major reason for that. 21 goals last season. You'd expect him to get around the 14-15 mark this year, and if he does, it'll be a great season for him.
Very good season,
yeah. So Matt, Mick, you've got 3 forward players.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Forward number 1 is the main man, Wayne Rooney.
Okay, good.
We've discussed that. Secondly, I've gone for Harry Kane because
I'm pleased someone has. Because I feel like if we leave him out, we've done a disservice to him last season.
I know there's all the you'll throw at me one season wonder. We can't really judge him yet, but from what I have seen so far as a player, he's got a lot to his game. I mean, I saw him absolutely destroy Chelsea in January. I think it was New Year's Day, and sometimes you can just tell. Just the way he bullied us, his work rate, he's deceptively fast, good movement, strong, and he obviously can finish, takes responsibility. I remember earlier in the season, he was willing to take the free kicks to penalties, even when he was that guy he should make the step from Europa League player to starting in the Premiership. He seems to have a good character about him. I just think his age, I think he's a very, very promising player. That coupled with the fact my quota was I needed a Spurs player, but that's not really the point. I think he's going to be a very, very good player for years to come.
It was him or Soldado, and you went with Kane. We can see why.
It was tough, it was tough. Adebayor was pushing, but no.
All right, next. We got final player.
My final one, I've gone for the left field option like you have, but I've gone for Callum Wilson.
Good.
I remember seeing him for Coventry, and you see players scoring in the low leagues, you're like, okay. When he got that move to Bournemouth, but he continued it in the Championship, and from what I've seen from him last year, he seems like quite a complete player. Again, works very hard, good pace, which I think you do, like you said, you do get the players that don't, kind of like the Nugents and stuff. But Callum Wilson, again, has all the tools to go on and progressive. Young, English. I think in Bournemouth, again, the style of play they play would suit something I like to watch. And he's gonna be their main man this season, no doubt about it. So to see what he can do, he's going to get a full platform to flourish, so we'll see. But I think, again, potentially, he's got all the tools, and I do rate him. So
yeah. Are you expecting him to have like a Danny Ings-esque season?
I think he's got more of a Charlie Austin chance, to be honest, just purely because he's more. I think Danny Ings, I think Burnley were a lot worse than QPR in terms of the players they had potentially to use. If you had a workman-like side, and QPR were more creative on paper. But I think Callum Wilson, in that side, the way Bournemouth play, I think Bournemouth will do decently this season. I'm not sure whether they'll stay up, but I think they'll score goals, and that's going to favour Callum Wilson. So
I'd agree with that. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Matt. I know we've gone through all the players, but out of Deeney, Jerome, and Wilson, who do you see as being the one that's most likely to keep his club up? If you had to pick one.
Well, I think that at Watford, Deeney, who has probably got better support in terms of the players that Watford have brought in, are probably of a slightly higher calibre than what Bournemouth have got. So I think that if Bournemouth or Watford stay up, I think that Callum Wilson would probably have more of an integral part of actually, so to speak, keeping them up. But that's not to say that Deeney won't grab an absolute buttload of goals while he's doing it. I think the goals might be more spread around at Watford. I think Callum Wilson, if Bournemouth are going to stay up, he might be more of a focal point with that, because they don't have quite such quality in the supporting areas, perhaps.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Now we all selected a bench, gents. I think because we've gone on for quite a while. I don't know if you've noticed, folks, but this has gone on for longer than the other episodes we've done so far. But that's not a bad thing. I like this. I think we're getting closer to that sort of podcast length anyway. So in the comments, actually, if you prefer the longer episodes or the short episodes, do let me know so we can get a good grasp. We're still early days with the football chat with me, Ben. So we'll see how we're getting on. But I think we'll just do a couple of picks, boys, from your benches. Sort of a notable mention. And I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to start off. I'll do all mine at the same time. Amavi from Villa, who they've just signed, League Un, I should say. Sorry, very continental on me. Hotly rated. I don't know all that much about him, but from what I've read and heard about him, he could be. I heard one pundit say he could be the difference between Villa staying up and going down. And to say that about a left back, is quite the sort of endorsement. I think again, Nathan Redmond from Norwich. You might expect him to have a good season. He didn't do so well last time in the Premier League, a little bit overawed. And Geordie Classy, another one from Southampton, who I think Southampton have done that thing again where they've sold players for an extortionate amount of money and then brought in one for half the price who could be equally as good. So it's going to be fascinating to see how he gets on. Matt, who have you gone for?
Right, so I went with the same kind of rules as the first 11. So all the players on the bench are from teams that aren't in the first 11.
Yep.
So I'm just going to go through them quite quickly because we've got a few here. I've got Fabianski as the goalie.
Yeah,
just because he was really solid performer last year. I think he was sort of one of the highest rated in terms of performances last year of any goalkeeper in the Premier League, in terms of saves and shots saved and all that. Centre-back wise, I've got Julian Lescott, who, despite, I think he made a few clangers last season, but the fact is he was still very solid for West Brom. When they played well, he was part of the reason at the back. Sebastian Larsson, just because, again, like a sort of backup to Eriksen, he's that same type of player for me. He's a very good dead ball specialist. I think he's got the most free kicks ever in the Premier League scored.
Wow, that's a lovely stat.
That's a stat, man.
We've got Diouf of Stoke as a striker.
Yeah,
he's a dangerous player.
And I've got Nathan Redmond in from Norwich, just like you did.
Yeah, Redmond. I think it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. He had an okay 21s. It wasn't like great. He had an okay 21s. It'll be interesting to see how he gets on in the Premier League. Mick, give us a selection of your subs. Noble mentions.
Yeah, my bench was basically just noble mentions. I had just picked players that didn't get in. So I had Peter Cech, Branislav Ivanovic, James Milner, who I think is very underrated, Juan Mata and Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, I had Berahino and Rodwell on my bench as well. Players that I think Rodwell might have a big year this year. I think Sunderland will struggle, but I think Rodwell might be the mainstay in that side that does quite well. So, gentlemen, I think that wraps us up. What I'm going to do now, folks, is put the three teams on the screen. They may have been on for a little while now, actually. And I want you to pick your favourite. Not necessarily the best team, not the team that would win, but the favourite of yours, or the best, whatever you like. I don't mind. So, gentlemen, I think that leaves us there, really. Thank you for joining me. Matt, where can we find you if you want to find out more about what you're up to, what you're saying, what you're doing?
Oh, find me all over the place.
It's like the FM League all over again.
Yeah, exactly right. I don't know how to describe myself. You can find me in the club.
In the club. Well, do you want me to help you out?
Yes.
Second Yellow Kurd on Twitter, without the A, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and youtube.com/secondyellowcard. Both links will be in the description down below. And Mickey Mar Jr., it's been nice to get you out of retirement.
Thank you, sir.
And welcome you back into the footballing world. And you're on Twitter as well, right? Mick Mar Jr. Again. Do you want your YouTube as well?
I don't mind, mate. I'm an international man of mystery.
All right, put both links in there. We'll do it. International man of mystery. All right, so that brings us to the end. It's been a pleasure having you on, boys. And to those who were listening, thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed today's Football Chat with Ben, please leave a like on it. And again, leave your 11s in the comment section below. I'll read some of the best ones out next week. And thank you for your opinions on Sterling last week. And for the 14 people that told me that Delph had moved to City, I know. I'll see you next time. We love with care. Goodbye.